YouTube internet, hello, hello. This is Thursday, no, it's a Wednesday today, the 6th of December. I thought I'd give a little date just in case to nail this video into a time frame. And since most of my reflections and comments are, I generally would like to give comments about myself in terms of my inner world, the things that are going on within me that motivate me to make the paintings as you see in the back, which I think is important from the point of view that I have always said. Rather than being in the headlights of their story, we begin to create our story. But obviously things are going on out there that affect a lot of people. People are affected by the world, like Fukushima Daiichi having blown up with 3 full core meltdowns, and all the misdeeds by the miscreants that are basically a mob. I feel that we're being run by the mob. When you think about NASA and all their bogus telemetry images and videos about the bogus moon landing stuff, I begin to feel like we're being run by the mob. So obviously there is this inclination to look outside of ourselves, which is reasonable, and understand what the heck is going on out there as a result of what's not being done in our inner world, which is my focus, my interest. My interest as a painter is that which happens within me. But that nonetheless, my commentary, I'm going to talk about the idea that there are certain events that, to me, right now, main one is the jewel in the crown of events, of all events, is Fukushima having blown up, and literally, virtually, no attention paid to it by the public mind. In fact, people are still saying, no one has died from Chernobyl, nobody has suffered any illness from these events, so go away, it's not important. Well, this level of denial, let me shut the compressor off. This level of denial is not conducive to our well-being, but anyway, be that as it may, I'm going to come to the point about the events that are happening as I see outside, which will affect me drastically, and already we're being affected by the massive illnesses as a result of the plumes that are coming on a daily basis from this plant over the Pacific. The currents carry all this material over the Pacific and deposit it on North America and all over the globe, south and north, everywhere. But there are things happening that I'm particularly intrigued now by the level of this Bitcoin craze. And I'm going to go out on a limb. I have mentioned Bitcoin, and I've said, and I have referred to, I don't know if I referred to him actually, Quinn Michaels, this fellow, this programmer who talks about Bitcoin. He's a programmer. He should have made a lot of money on Bitcoin, understanding what he understands, but he said, yeah, no, he hasn't got any because, and I think this is a good point, that as a person of conscience, he saw the criminality in this particular what is that platform they've created. And it doesn't come, as he says, out of the basement of some nerdy kid that didn't have a nickel and living with the parents and creating a Bitcoin thing. This Satoshi Nakamoto supposedly did this. No, 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 no. This comes from the highest levels. And my understanding of the Bitcoin thing, which people are making huge, huge profits if you were in, especially if you were in like in 2009, 2010, I came across it, it was like cents. It was like 5 cents, 10 cents. But what I realized intuitively, like I realized when this Fukushima plant blew up, intuitively, we're in big trouble. And I sensed, not maybe at the time to the extent, I thought this was like some kind of a hype to create interest, this is what I thought, interest in digitalizing the digital format, what is considered to be part of the AI. We have exposure to what is artificial intelligence, and you do not have artificial intelligence without digitalizing. And the more you digitalize, the more artificial intelligence has a platform to function in, meaning that we are completely and totally in our physical world, controlled by AI. Like the internet is fundamentally AI. This thing that I'm using is a form of AI. Now the Bitcoin part of it, and I'm gonna go on a limb, I'm gonna say this is gonna end very badly because as Quinn Michaels has pointed out, this is a vehicle for criminal activities. And the idea, imagine this, the idea that this is just a runaway kind of bubble kind of value created around this, the authorities could easily just buy up all the Bitcoin and their manipulation ends. But in fact, I suspect they have huge amounts of the Bitcoin that they release and withhold and release to push the price. Once these government types get involved, and you say, well, they'll just create another one. It comes out of the mob. The mob is running Bitcoin. The same way the mob is running NASA. This tomfoolery they're doing with us, these lies about something in terms of moon travel, people on the moon. Why didn't they ever get a decent picture of the Earth from each mission that they were on, or even take, for example, I listened to Quantum of Conscience talking about Voyager that's still working out there supposedly after 40 years. Voyager, or the Voyager ships, traveling to the furthest reaches of our solar system, going into the cosmic reality out there and sending back pictures, and they never sent one picture of the Earth as it was moving away from the Earth. Give us a whole bunch of pictures. Why not? Why not? Because they're a bunch of fraudsters. They're the mob. We're being run by the mob. And the idea that on the moon, you know that the moon travels perfectly around the Earth, keeping one face to us all the time, and Apollo 11 to 17 all landed on the face. So if you look at the Earth, it's impossible to see it over the horizon. You have to look like midday noon. You'd see the Earth looking straight up, not on the horizon. It's just another flaw. They never thought of this because they're dopes. They're the mob. They're Al Capone running the show, extracting huge amounts of wealth. We're talking trillions of dollars. That's the point. It's the mob running the show. NASA is an adjunct to the idea of a mob running something. And lots of people, 40,000 people employed, and it's need to know basis kind of stuff. So not each person is privy to this lie that is being propagated. But you know, keep your mouth shut, you get your paycheck fine. Anyway, Mike, I'm going to go out on a limb. This Bitcoin thing is fundamentally to take everyone into this digital world. That's how I see it. And by doing that, we are subject to the AI. Now, the Bitcoin itself is not AI. The Bitcoin is a platform, a vehicle to digitalize everything. So if you have basically the only way you can actually interact with each other in a transaction, in a monetary transaction, if everything is on a digital basis, control is ultimate. And the way I understand this working, this blockchain thing, it requires everyone to be hooked into each other. So it functions based on the idea that everyone is hooked into each other. And I see this coming to a very bad end because the mob never actually accomplishes anything for the benefit of humanity. I mean, it's a selfish organization. It's like Al Capone running the show. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I don't know whether it's going to be within a year or 6 months or a week that this thing is going to fly in the face. And the reason it's, okay, here's why I think it's going to bust big time, is because as we proceed through this progression towards ill health, as we get sick, all these preoccupations are going to be fluff and meaningless. The mob is creating superficial levels on top of level to grab our attention. Their story, not our story. And our story and everyone's story is going to be monumental illness from the releases of all these nuclear plants. This is inevitable. It bioaccumulates. It's something we can't handle on an ongoing basis. And the releases have escalated, especially since 2011 when this plant blew up, but all the others are doing the releases as well. So my concept about all of this, on my focus on the outside world, the external world, I would say this Bitcoin thing is another manifestation of listening to their story, not our story. This has been created, a platform. The mob has created a platform for them to function within a level of criminality, as Quinn Michaels listened to his explanation of this. This is quite superb. He understands this. And as a Buddhist, he's restricting himself from acting outside of his conscience. And he said, no, I couldn't do it because it's part of this criminality. I still think he believes there to be a value in terms of this. I don't see any value as long as there are these dark elements initiating these programs. In itself, Bitcoin may be a fabulous idea, but not under the circumstances, because what it does, it deflects away from actually what is going on in a more profound, epic sense. And I comment on people's channels all the time, the Greg Hunters and Salentes and people that have great insight to economies and how things work. Well, nothing will work. When half the population is sick and the other half is like under 30, or a portion is just under 30, or everybody is younger, who's going to make the money and take care of everybody? It doesn't work anymore. And as it escalates past that level of everybody is sick on some form, in some way, even children who are now contracting cancer, this is going to escalate. I don't see any of this being reduced by brilliant science. Science has been functioning on the level of creating a cure for cancer for over 75 years, and they've come up with zip. They actually create more problems than what they cure or what they help with. And people are told, no, no, you're being helped. You take chemo and you take radiation, you're being helped. What a bunch of hooey. So I say that the Bitcoin thing, let me go out on a limb. I'm going to say this coming year is going to be very likely the escalation of the illnesses much more, and all the fluff around it is going to come apart at the seams. It's not going to function anymore. People are going to say, like the idea, Lynette Zhang said, what about the people in Venezuela? Are they interested in Bitcoin and investing in Bitcoin? Their ass is grass on a fundamental level. They're not able to feed themselves, and whatever else is going on that's dismantling their social order, well, by design most likely again. But this is what's going to escalate globally. I believe the illnesses are going to be the factor that will destroy all this fluff reporting. Everybody is like focused on their story, the fluff that's coming out of all these alternate channels. Every single one of them has no insight into what actually is going to make a real difference in our life, and that is our health. Our health is everything. And once that is depleted, not just when you're 70 or 80, but when you're 30 or 40, this is when the thing is going to hit the fan, and all this is going to be meaningless. So we got to get our act together if we're going to have a chance on this one. We're gonna have to get our act together on this, and to keep listening to their story, all the people reporting on all the stuff outside, like this fluff Bitcoin bullshit. It's going to go away. It's a tulip. It's just like everything else. We're gonna hit the ground hard. We're gonna hit the ground hard. And what remains is the dignity, the sincerity, the honesty, the caring in people. That's the only thing that's gonna get our ass out of the sling, and we do the right thing. We start doing the right thing, personally and collectively. Bitcoin finished next year. Not 40,000 or $1 million, even the predictions. Bitcoin finished, because we're going to get sick.